Open with our life-size depiction of Sao Koju of the 8 Drunken Immortals, the staff of Green Dragon Studio welcomes you to instruction on one of the more difficult sets derived from one of the 5 main Northern Drunken styles. While various elements of this rare set can be seen in other Drunken forms, its total structure is unique and requires a great deal of hard preliminary training in order to perform it with speed, power, and correct execution. To begin our usual overview procedure, we'll look first at the set in its entirety, performed at a moderately fast pace, to give you an opportunity to assess its unusual structure and dynamics. Continue our overview. We'll go now to one slow motion view of the form, something very difficult to do with a Drunken set that has the ground technique that this one does, because it tends to kill the momentum at critical points in the form. However, Mr. Jim Leonello, your demonstrator here, is a very strong performer in this style, as well as being Green Dragon's monkey specialist, and can still execute the moves even with undesirable pauses throughout. Some points to consider in the meantime. This form is based on the leader of the 8 Drunken Immortals, the 8-foot-tall giant Chung Li of Han, whose depiction will appear at the end of this tape. This form is loosely translated as Chung Li chases monsters and ghosts, no doubt a reference to the fact that he is associated with the dead, in fact is attributed to have the power to raise the dead with a wave of his fan, and to the fact that he employs explosively erratic ground fighting technique because he is often too drunk to stand upright. Most Drunken forms, particularly this one, have many sequences which are wide open to interpretation, both as to the number, such as the number of staggering steps, and even the content, in this case dealing mostly with gestures. In such areas, you are limited only by your imagination. The form is intentionally erratic in nature to the point where it is really never done exactly the same way twice by the same person, let alone by 2 different students. The performers are supposed to appear unbalanced and to impart an atmosphere of total unpredictability. The set is more powerful and explosive than most Drunken material, which is why Green Dragon included it in the brochure first, partially indicative of being a northern form, and of course also being related to Tetong men, or ground rolling material in particular. For orientation purposes, the staggering, leaning, and bending exhibited throughout the form have 4 main purposes: avoidance of attacks, similar to bobbing and weaving in professional boxing; secondly, for the deflection of incoming punches and kicks; thirdly, for deceiving the enemy as to intentions or for drawing him off balance; and lastly, to set up momentum for an attack sequence. All of these will be clearly seen in Jim's program of combat applications toward the end of the tape. Finally, this Drunken set is much more conducive to realistic and practical combat applications than are many others, strength and application always being at the center of Green Dragon's thinking when evaluating a form. We'll move now to the actual teaching portion of the tape, that of presenting the form in segments just as it would be taught here in the home studio. In this case, Jim will be breaking the 60-some steps down into 12 separate instructional segments, averaging 4 to 7 steps each, demonstrating, as we usually do, each segment in at least 2 views. Starting with segment number 1 here, the first 4 steps of the salute portion. Each segment will be demonstrated from at least 2 directions and on a count-by-count or very slow motion basis. We need to add a word of caution as well concerning your attempts to learn this demanding set. If you are a novice in the Chinese martial arts or unaccustomed to falling or engaging in the kind of lower level gymnastic moves that this set does contain, you should exercise great care in trying to duplicate some of these sequences. The potential for injury is quite high. While Jim can perform these moves on concrete at this point in his experience, he did learn the form with the use of heavy mats and has been practicing Drunken style for well over 2 years, in addition to all of his work in the monkey styles. Going to segment number 2 now, the next 4 steps, counting as we do stagger steps as 1 count, ending here with the drop into the palm strike in a high bow and arrow stance. And the second view of the next sequence. And segment number 3, likewise 4 steps. The forward roll into the flying double kick and the backward roll leading to a double center line block up and coming down in, under, and forward to an inverted double palm strike. Segment number 4 now, the next 5 steps, starting with a holding the jug for a drinking sequence. 2 fingers on each side with each hand, sometimes done with 1 hand only, are designed for grabbing and tearing in Drunken style. Single hand with a drinking sequence here on the ground. Again, any number of Drunken steps done in any style can be used prior to the kick. Fall is to the back, double scissors, and single hand drinking sequence simulating a jug or a cup, again held by the thumb and the forefinger. Segment number 5, 4 steps again. Roll to the heel kick, crab walking sequence, to the backward roll, and a flailing arm sequence of back fist strikes up and or power blocks with the forearms covering the center line from bottom to top, coming out of the vertical circles. Segment 6. 5 steps again. Have a drop over or ragdoll sequence here. Double backhand strike with the open hands. Stagger stepping again. Forward roll to the turning 360-degree flying crescent kick coming right out of the ground rolling technique. Second view of 6, starting with a palm block into the drop over sequence, double backhand, Staggering into the roll, finishing on the 360 flying crescent kick. Most of your kicking here is done high, especially the flying type kicks, indicative of northern drunken style as opposed to southern. The 6 steps of segment number 7. Nice blocking, striking sequences, flying rear heel kick, and finishing on the swinging back fist up while moving into the kneeling horse. And the second view of 7. Most forward rolls that land with the legs spread wide are generally accomplishing one of 2 things: either heel kicks to an opponent who has already been taken down, or setting the performer up for some kind of a scissors or tripping move. Segment number 8 now. 7 steps here. Elbow to the backhand strike. And a series of palm and backhand work, doubling as either blocking or striking, or a combination of either. Very fast and powerful series of open-handed work when done at speed, as you probably noticed from the initial performance. The 7 steps of segment number 9 now. Hard sequence. One-armed cartwheel into the heel kick. The circular sweep series through the support leg. Backward roll. Kick and forward straight body drop to the chest, landing with the palms on the ground. Good time to remind you that excellent conditioning and perhaps previous experience with more elementary forms of drunken style should be a requisite to attempting to master this form. Segment number 10. 4 steps. Sit through, kip, bobbing and weaving, so typical of drunken style. Backward roll, press out to a handstand, landing in the knee on the ground, wide front to back kneeling horse position. Unlike many drunken forms, once again, all of the moves in this form, both major moves and minor, have a direct counterpart in combat applications. The 5 steps now of segment number 11, the next to the last segment, representing at least 11 weeks worth of hard work on your part if you follow Green Dragon's suggestion of spending at least a week training no less than an hour a day on each segment. Second view here of segment 11. Blocking sequence. Striking with the palm, striking with the crane style hand. Stagger steps to 2 nice step over twisting horse stances leading to open backhanded strikes. Segment number 12. Leading to the finish. Double crane strikes in the twisting horse. 360-degree ground level iron broom sweep, leading to a 360-degree flying crescent kick. Very dynamic finish to a very difficult form. We'll be moving now to a series of 10 or 12 combat applications taken by Jim out of the form, things that he likes particularly, that are designed expressly to illustrate the principles of application of drunken style. They are certainly not meant to be exhaustive. You could literally pull hundreds of good fighting techniques out of a form of this length with the kind of compounds that it contains. Jim will once again demonstrate that portion of the form from which he has extracted his technique. Then we will do the technique one time at a moderate rate of speed to demonstrate its dynamics and give you a sense for its power, and then one time very slowly in a count-by-count fashion. From the sequence just demonstrated, Jim's partner Kevin, our double sabers specialist and butterfly hand specialist here at Green Dragon, attacks first with a right middle gate punch. Jim begins his off-balance routine, steps aside, intercepts the punch, grabs that, breaks the arm over the chest, drives the elbow into the rib cage, opens the center line, drives him off balance, and executes the palm to the solar plexus for the finish by dropping in that fifth stance, a very powerful way of striking. The entire body is going in behind that palm. The second sequence from the form now, from which Jim has derived a combat application that he would use. Kevin stepping in this time and executing a right grab for the shoulder, upper arm, chest, or close. Any of those would be applicable as the attack. Because Jim's response would be working well against any of those, that response being the block up with the forearm while doing the stagger retreat, dropping and striking up and into the groin. Drives his body forward, falls on the leg to break Kevin down, going through the forward roll position, and then falling back on him very hard with an elbow straight down into the solar plexus. And uses a drink and stagger step sequence, moving away. Looking at this again now in a second count by count to better see the elbow strike to the solar plexus. The upward block, moving back, drawing his opponent into the strike up and into the groin. Once again, you see the whole body being used with most of these strikes. Drives his body into the leg, executes the forward roll. Drops back over, lifts the elbow high, driving it straight down into the solar plexus, and rolls out. Next sequence that Jim is repeating from the form. Drinking and stagger step sequence with the flick kick and the scissors on the ground. Very dangerous technique in this case. Kevin stepping into attack with a palm strike to the middle gate to initiate the sequence. Jim defenses this by falling backward, with the kick automatically flicked up into the groin. Scissor starts with a left crescent to the head, comes back with a reverse crescent with the same leg to the head again, and then scissors the leg very hard to pound him into the concrete. Excellent double use for the ground scissors. And the fourth sequence from the form. Nice drunken combination. Begins with a left high gate punching attack. Jim turning a sharp 90 degrees to the right immediately to deflect the punch and executing the left palm strike simultaneously. Kevin then throwing a right hook to the head, Jim dropping over in the ragdoll to avoid it. Turning and snapping back up with the backhand to the back of the neck. Staggering to the side to set himself up for the crescent kick to the face. Spinning around, off balance seemingly, and coming over and down with vertical elbow to the collarbone, driving his opponent to the ground. Had the kick, dropped the opponent, then of course he could have fallen and delivered the elbow on the ground just exactly in the manner in which it was done in any event. Would have worked either way. From this sequence. Nice combination, once again straight out of the form, showing you the practical application aspect of this drunken set. Kevin attacking this time with a right snap kick followed by a right punch in combination. Jim power blocking the kick with the back of the forearm, blocking the punch by falling forward on it with a double palm, jumping for the flying reverse heel kick to the groin, spinning around, building up a lot of momentum for the left reverse palm to the head, followed by the right back fist up into the groin in the kneeling horse. Starting the drinking move by coming up, grabbing for the throat, and pulling him forward and ripping the throat out as his opponent falls away. Good illustration of how the forefinger and thumb are used in that hand position so often throughout the body of the form. And from that series of steps, right high gate punch by Kevin. Jim beginning his defense here with a right hook block on that punch, bringing the shoulder and the body into this. Left hits and grabs behind the neck, yanks the head back to set up for the palm strike with the right. Moving in, driving on his opponent's center line, spinning and executing the elbow over and down on the collarbone or neck, and ending with the snap kick to the rib cage, solar plexus, up under the armpit, target of your choice. A lot of dynamics now from that section of the form. We have Kevin leading off with right high gate punch again. Jim defensing the right high gate punch with the Drunken style upward block with the left arm. Coming across, striking with a right palm. Sets up the twist for the reverse crescent to the head. The cartwheel all the way over, hard heel strike down on the solar plexus or groin for the finish. Tremendously powerful strike for a downed opponent. Another section with some explosive dynamics to it. Grab from behind this time against Jim. And once again, excellent use of the combinations found in that section of the form. Against the grab from behind, Jim immediately begins dropping down, shifts his weight back, does the roll. Double kick up under the chin, staggers in to fall with a double palm down on Kevin's heart. Knee up into the groin, starts the drinking move, which leads to the hard elbow strike across the face and roll out. Both of these gentlemen, being trained for some years in third level iron palm technique, have a tremendous amount of capability with palm strikes, whether it's free swinging or in something like the double palm drop onto the chest from that last technique. From this sequence, we are going to have the Drunken style performer here, Jim Leonello, do the attacking initially. Setting up an excellent combination of subsequent moves and interchange on both sides. Jim begins the attack with a right high gate punch, which Kevin knife hand blocks. Returning a punch to the middle gate, which Jim staggers back to avoid and blocks with dropping the shoulder with the hook and the pressure block down to drive Kevin off the center line. Comes in with a reverse sweep. Jim elevating the leg to avoid that, side kick to break Kevin's sweeping leg. Swings that palm again to the face and rolls by his side to set himself up for a scissors from earlier in the form. In this case, coming across with the left heel kick down on the solar plexus or face, cocks that leg back, executes a strong, powerful snapping heel kick to Kevin's face. Do a second step-by-step or slow-mo on this one now so we can see this from the opposite side and observe this interchange a little more closely. This is compound enough to represent a small two-man form sequence. We have Jim's right high gate punch and Kevin's knife hand block. Jim doing that nice block on the counter punch, staggering back, getting set to avoid the reverse iron broom sweep. The side kick to that sweeping leg to break the leg at the area of the knee joint. Swinging full arm palm with the shot to the face. Sets him up to roll by his side. Executes the scissors over and down on his body. Strong thrust kick with the heel, side of the head or face, and stagger out for the finish. And a final sequence now from the form. The last steps right before the salute out portion. Kevin attacking this time with left middle gate punch. Drunken gestures carried through very expertly by Jim. Spent hundreds of hours working on this and several sets comparable to it. Jim turns on line and leans back to avoid the punch. The right hook follow-up by Kevin is avoided by the ragdoll or bending over. Comes out of that with a left backhand crane-style position to the solar plexus or groin. Vertical elbow up under the chin as he steps in. Sets up for the jumping 360-degree flying crescent. Drops down with the reverse iron broom. Takes a drink and falls away. And both kip out, finishing the sequence. In concluding our look at this little-known advanced Northern-style 8 Drunken Immortals set with our depiction of the giant Chung Li of Han, we'd like to remind you once again that this is not a form for beginners, and therefore to make certain that your personal conditioning and experience have been sufficient to handle the falling and tumbling moves involved. If you enjoy sets that contain the type of explosive dynamics represented by this style, you'll certainly want to investigate Green Dragon's other forms that employ T-Tong or ground rolling movements. Examples would be White Ape and Northern Monkey for empty hand work, and Single Double-Edged Knife, Double Sabers, and the Master Butterfly Knife set for weapons, among others. Green Dragon does teach major material from 3 out of the 5 Northern Drunken styles, and will be offering other sets at the advanced level in the months to come. In the meantime, the very best wishes in regard to all aspects of your training in the Chinese martial arts from all of the instructional staff and the demonstration team here at Green Dragon Studio.